Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with three S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, with my co-host for The Amazing Race, Jonathan. He is back to support his teams. And I don't know about you, but I think it worked.
I made a promise last week, and I'm not to spoil anything, but I'm sure we all watched it already, and I'm just saying it worked. So,
It
so
worked.
I have to
I
be
was
here every
worried. I was
time.
getting worried though. I was like, oh, does that mean that Jonathan's not coming on this week? Like that's what I was starting to think when I was watching the episode, when I was getting worried.
Yeah.
But with the outcome, I was like, nope, he is going to be here. Absolutely keeping the support alive. So this episode's called Don't Look Down, and they are going to be traveling to Ronda, Spain. Now, you've been to Portugal, right?
No, I haven't. No, my entire family has, but I have not. Yeah, I've just
When are
been
you
to the
making a trip?
I know, especially because I'm half Welsh as well, and I've been to Wales several times. So I just haven't gone to, and I'm from the Azores. My family's I'm first generation Canadian, and my family's from the Azores. And I've seen all the pictures, and yeah, and now unfortunately my grandparents have since passed away, who were raised there. But you could go with my other family perhaps, or I should visit one day, right?
Well, I know that the world is scary to you right now, but how would you feel about coming on a singles tour or singles cruise of like the Mediterranean or stuff like that? And maybe we can figure out a route that has Portugal in it.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Like, would you do it?
I mean, probably, honestly,
Oh, because we're
probably.
thinking of trying to do because what I've been noticing is there's just everybody I know is either in a relationship or they are single. You know what I mean? And kind of trying to date, but like not having necessarily any luck. So I was like, hey,
Well,
man.
we know which category I'm in. So.
Me too. Yeah. Like, and when I say like these people that are in relationships are like engaged or they're like
Yeah,
married, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like we're the daters or the
yeah.
singles,
Most of my friends are married. So
right?
especially all
And
the
their
ones my
kids are
age
like
are usually
20.
married. Yeah, yeah.
So, Luna says Azores is the next travel destination. Beautiful hikes.
Yes, Ponta
Ooh.
Delgada is where we're from.
So let's like do a singles tour. I'm thinking of trying to make it a reality realness singles tour. So everybody that
Mm.
like watches reality realness or like participates in watching all these love shows with me will come on a tour and we'll see if we can
Oh my
find some
gosh, you can write
love on a
a
boat.
book about that. That's a good story,
You think?
Yeah,
Like starting a singles crew with like my chat groups?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Very modern, yeah, love story and potentially absolutely.
Well, if it ends well.
I mean, in the story and
In the story,
yeah,
like
it'll end
I
well,
obviously I meet some god
right.
that I'm like, I can't.
Adonis, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what happens on this leg of the race, though. Oh, anyways, my point was though, like Portugal is quite close to
Yeah.
Spain, and so like I was wondering if you'd been over to Spain, which I'm assuming you have not as well.
No, but I would feel I grew up in the Portuguese household, so I'd feel very comfortable around the language, I'm sure. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I really, really love Spain. I think I've mentioned it before. I wanted to go to Spain the summer of 2020. And so I'm hoping that the summer of 2023, I'll be able to go visit Spain because I have actually learned flamenco. When I was living in Vancouver, I took flamenco lessons. I worked at Patria, which means homeland or home, and that is a Spanish tapas restaurant here in Toronto. And so I feel like I'm Spanish already.
Practically,
like pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And I took 2 years of Spanish in university.
Yeah, it's not all. I mean, I'm sure it's because again I'm Portuguese, but it's just so easy for me to understand and follow along with too. That yeah, it feels, and I think the same values, because they're so geographically close to each other, it's like basically the same. So I feel right at home there.
Right at home. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I'd be right at home there as well. So Derek and Claire, we see them striving in these convertibles, which is so much fun. It's kind of nice seeing them in a different vantage point, because usually we see somebody driving and someone in the back seat, and then the camera is like from the
Yeah.
passenger seat. And so having these dashboard cameras
It was like
and like
GoPros or whatever they have. I was like, I noted that in my head. I was like, this is such a better idea. You don't have to have the stress of like a camera person. I mean, I guess
they're
you're
following them, I think, still.
they would have to, because if you break down or if you end up in a ditch, I'm not naming any names from a few weeks ago, but you'll need someone to film that. But it's like, I just feel like it's a better idea, you know?
Definitely. And I just liked being able to see both of them and how they actually interact. And it seemed like they were more in like their natural habitat. Like, I could see Claire and Derek driving together to, I don't know, the store or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it just seemed a little bit more normal. And so I
And
really kind of enjoyed that. Mhm.
I'm sure you forget the cameras are there in general anyway, but I think especially if there's not a person running the cameras there. So
So they're out in front, but the two Spanish teams got directions. We didn't see Derek and Claire get directions, but you would assume that they got some directions, right?
I mean, well, they got kind of lost getting out of there. So I was like, I just assumed that they didn't, but I mean, they seemed like they looked at the map and they figured out that it's pretty straightforward. Just kind of getting out of initially where they were was the trickier part. Um,
What
maybe that
went
was it.
down though? So Derek was like he wanted to follow traffic. Did Claire say no, don't go that way? Because he was like, "Oh, I should have trusted my intuition here." Can you piece together what happened there?
Well, I thought that she was telling him to go a certain way, and then he was saying like, this is like where the traffic's going. So, and then he didn't listen to himself.
That's a very good thing to be thinking of, like, because usually traffic is going to be going towards
Yeah.
like either the city or towards a highway.
And then so like I know I was a little annoyed with Derek last time, but I actually thought he was a lot funny, and I wasn't annoyed this time. But like they did them dirty with the whole, like when they got trapped with the car
At the 100-point turn.
and the 5 minutes later, I was like, you did not need to put that.
Yes, they did. Honestly, it reminded me. Did you see that Austin Powers when he was just like
Yeah,
making that turn?
yeah,
Yeah, they
every like
definitely did him a bit dirty, but like, I like there must have been a better place to turn
they should have
around.
had that
No,
voiceover like 5 minutes later, and then just like had the and then I was like, oh goodness. But I mean, it's stressful, and you're in this car that you don't want to scratch up, and it's such a tight. I mean, I would have been worked up. I would have been not a pleasant person if I was in his situation. So kudos to him for like keeping it calm. But yeah,
so we were kind of giving Derek a little bit of heck for the fact that they helped out David and Aubrey at the fish fry challenge. And so I was actually thinking about it now, and I'm thinking, like, do you know what? No offense to David and Aubrey. They're definitely are staying in this race, but I don't feel it though they're as strong a team as the twins and the brothers. And so I'm actually thinking that they might have done it now because it would secure them that team moving forward, most likely, and potentially taking out one of the stronger two teams that were in the back, because the twins and the brothers are in the back of the pack, and those two teams have been in the front of the pack for most of the race.
I wish I believed they're doing it for strategic reasons. I think they were just doing it for people who that they liked and they happened to be kind of like in place with, like in the same time. But yeah, on paper, it's a bad idea. I think they lucked out with those two teams falling, and you want to take one of those two teams out. And like we heard at the end of the episode, like who do you not want showing up between the sisters and the brothers? And and
Brothers.
that's what they said. So it's like it's I think it just a bit of luck that it worked out. Overall on paper, I don't think that I would never do that, because you're potentially helping support a strong team. Now if they did it knowing that they're not the strongest team, sure, but I don't know if they really played into that strategy as much.
Derek and Claire also said on their podcast that they were hoping to get some help from them later. And I'm thinking the help from them later could be because they're in a Spanish speaking country with some Spanish speakers. So maybe getting directions or understanding some things might be helpful for them later on in the leg. So I think that that
But like,
also could have played into their
why didn't they
decision.
start off with that then? Like, why didn't they help themselves get out of there together? I
Well,
don't
they
know.
were ahead of them, I think.
Yeah, but not by much.
Well, they caught up
You could have like,
eventually.
well, but that's why, because they did. Like, I would have probably waited for the Spanish speaking people, and if I couldn't figure it out myself, and not take that extra few minutes.
So Luna says that Derek is starting to get that gold fever sweats. LOL. You can tell his eyes are on the money. Do you agree with this? I didn't notice necessarily.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't.
everybody's like seeing the money, but did you
I
notice
think
this?
maybe what you're saying is like he was a little bit more focused, which is why I wasn't annoyed. Like I didn't see him as, yeah, I didn't see him as, goofy. He was still funny, but it was funny just because he was being himself, not because he was like, telling jokes and stuff like that. So also they're on this mega leg. I'm sure they're all exhausted.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I do think he was a little bit more focused, if that's what you mean. Eye on the prize.
So Luis and Michelle, they end up leaving the previous detour third, and they end up getting to Rhonda first because they took a direct route. They didn't have to do that 100-point turn. They were able to get direct directions. And so they're gonna have to choose between bend over backwards or dressed for success. Which one do you think we would choose as a duo?
Well, it's funny because at first I guess I wasn't paying attention and I thought it was a dancing challenge.
I was already furious.
And yeah, so
I was
that's
like,
what
flamenco dancing? Really?
well, I was just thinking, I'm like, how many dancing challenges are they gonna
Yeah.
have? And there's dancers here. I'm like, and they're in their, a country that they speak. I'm like, were you setting this up if they like made it to this point, they would just fly on through? Like it just seemed, for David and Aubrey, it just seemed like so suited for them and even that other team. But then I was like, oh, it's not dancing. Okay, okay. But I would have attention to detail. I mean, that's who I am as a person. So I would have absolutely picked that one.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very unbalanced. I felt that the other one seemed a lot more challenging. Like, not that it was difficult. Like, obviously, you just have to put like the two slabs between each, I don't know, brick type thing, and build an arch, and then remove the. I don't remember the word for it. The
Like
frame.
the wooden arc frame, yeah. So I mean, but they also like were shoving those bricks in, and I mean, me building stuff, I just moved, so there's boxes in the background. But if I had to like take out my bidet from the old apartment, these things are supposed to be 10 minutes. It's like 45 minutes later. It's like you could have put a little caption with me.
Yeah,
45
I
minutes
was gonna be like,
later.
they're gonna done you dirty, literally, and
So
like
there's like
after this.
no way. If there's something to build or take, forget it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Attention to detail was my task. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I would have definitely done that one as well. Like, literally, what they needed to do was observe a flamenco dancer and then go to a store and recreate all of her accessories. So it was a shawl, it was smearings, it was a couple of rose bows for the hair, like rose, I don't know, adornments for the hair, castagnettes. Is that
Yeah.
it? Is that?
Yeah. And I think like it just seemed like they weren't very or overly specific, because a few teams seemed a little confused as to like what order or where they showed up. It was just like, oh wait, do we go? Okay, I guess we watched them. So I think that played into it a little bit too, is that they didn't tell them very specifically do this, then this, and then this, because it was on the easier side. That's what I was thinking. They're like, let them figure it out. That's part of the challenge.
Well, and also it seems as though they couldn't get up close and personal to the dancer. And
Mhm.
so the distance, I think, was like, oh, like how big were those castagnettes? Like, which, I mean, was there something on that shawl? I guess that was to increase the difficulty level, but I fully thought that it was an unbalanced challenges.
So if you're on Amazing Race, are you doing glasses or contacts?
Contacts and glasses, carrying glasses with me.
I am. So I okay, yeah, yeah.
Like
I
Like, because I would never want to be in a position where I don't have my glasses and I have to read something small.
Right. See, I see for distance.
I see for up close.
And so I've blinked out my contacts before. And I definitely drove home from Niagara Falls with one contact in my eye. Um, so I'm always like, should I be wearing glasses or contacts for the? I guess you have your backpack, right? So you can pick whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I would bring glasses and wear contacts most
Smart.
days. Um, yeah, just because like I wouldn't like, for instance, I forget sometimes if I go to like an audition when they used to be in person that like sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, will you read for this role instead?" And I'm like,
And
"Fuck,
you're like,
I don't have any glasses here." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is terrible." You know what I mean though? And then you can't do a decent cold read because you actually can't see. So, I would wear glasses just to prevent me from having to read something and not having my glasses with me, or they break or they're cumbersome,
yeah,
or you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I would wear contacts and have glasses as a backup. Well, Luis and Michelle, of course, are going to choose Dress for Success. She is a dancer, and so and I believe Luis's family is from Spain, so they're going to be familiar with the items that they're going to have to be choosing. We see Derek and Claire see David and Aubrey, and so they decide to go and get directions together. They're working together again. I do think that David thinks that they're a weaker team, so like keeping the weaker team close, I think is a decent strategy. You're like, no.
sorry, David or Derek? You think David thinks Derek and Claire are a weaker team, or
I
that Derek,
think Derek thinks David and
David and
Aubrey are a
Aubrey
weaker
are a
team.
weaker team? Yeah, I mean, I guess has he verbalized that? I don't know. I just thought I just think they're doing it just because they were like friendly and they get along with them. I think there's some reference in this episode of like someone's
We
someone
like them.
else's favorite team, and I think it was those two.
Yeah,
So
well, Aubrey said that Derek and Claire are their favorite
yeah,
team.
yeah. So I think it has more to do with that, in my
I
opinion.
mean, it's like everybody's obsessed with Derek and Claire. Like, well, because we have Luis and Derek having a little bit of a bromance. Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
don't see enough of him. It seems like I think I talked about this with you before, but that everybody loves Derek and thinks he's so funny. I want to see more of that funny side, but like
Yeah.
not where it's hindering his race abilities.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we saw a little bit more of just the funny who he is when he's not putting it on today. And yeah, I would just blame the edit, just that they haven't really shown those moments because I'm sure they're there.
So Luis and Michelle do Dress for Success, and nobody is actually showing up while they're able to get their first check wrong. They have the shawl and the rose wrong. Sherry Lynn here is saying that not knowing which part was wrong would make her question everything. What about you? Like, how would you go about determining what you had right?
Oh, well, I like what they did. She was like, I'll focus on I'll focus on the head, you focus on the rest. And so split it up. The two of you are working on it, and that's all you need to do. And it's like you need to just kind of hyper focus on that. And then what you can do is, because I always like a fresh pair of eyes, is my next guess, if I didn't get it right, I would have switched and said, you do that, you do that, and see what you notice, because sometimes you overlook something and you'll never see it. It's a blind spot for you. So that's what I would have done.
That's very smart. I like the idea of having the second set of eyes checking your work. That's very smart. And I'm going to remember to take that with me when I'm racing on the Amazing Race Canada. So, both the other two teams, so Derek and Claire, David and Aubrey, choose Dress for Success. It's obviously was the easier task because, like, if everybody's just immediately choosing it, I was like, is anybody gonna choose the build, the bend over backwards? It's like,
And I want them to implement a rule where if you are the last, because I always want to see both. So I want to say, like, if you are the last team to show up, you have to do the other task. If every other team has done like one and not the other. I've thought about this for a while. I wish that was a rule on the race. So you're forced to do the other one. And that might be to your benefit because you're in last place. So if it's like, if they've all picked the wrong one and you happen upon, and you want to follow in their footsteps, that's not going to get you any farther necessarily. But if you're forced to pick the other one, that may be a benefit and it might, propel you ahead of a few teams.
Well, they used to in the past do like there's only 4 stations for
Right.
this whatever. And I so you could wait for that station
Yeah.
or but maybe they could be like only 4 people can attempt this task and then the crew goes home
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, if they're going to create 2 tasks, I want to see both tasks.
100%.
They on Amazing Race Canada this past season, didn't they had a few where only one task was chosen? I was
Yeah.
like, that
Don't
sucks.
tease me with it and then not do it, and then I want to see it. So I feel like they can implement that rule. And do
Just,
they
yeah.
wanna hire me as a producer or something? I'll do it,
Yes, I think that they do. Jonathan, I'm
like
gonna have you nominated for
like a
that.
game, challenge producer, whatever, it's fine. I'll do it, it's fine.
I mean, I did apply once to be a questions producer for Family Feud. So there these roles are out there.
Yeah. I have it. It would be a good implementation of, like, a new thing that would ensure that you see both tasks, so
I would also want to be on like the dream team or whatever they call it, where they go and test these tasks. Like, if you're not gonna put me on the show, I would love to test everything. It'd be so
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I'm gonna make a new job for myself, new role. So Louise is the one that notices the detail on the shawl, which is what allowed them to pass. And so they are able to pretty much move on. And I think that they did cross paths with Claire and Derek and David and Aubrey entering this task when they were leaving, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, like, right at the end of their like, as they're finishing up, exactly.
So, how did you feel though about David and Aubrey and Claire and Derek working together inside the store? So they had to go to the store to buy all the different outfits to adorn the flamenco dancer.
With 2 clear teams that you probably want out behind you, I think it made sense. So
So
I was
push
like,
both of you
just
forward.
exactly, just keep yourselves there together. If you think that you can beat those other 2 teams, if that's the final 3, because you have that potential, then go for it. So yeah, there's nothing worse than you severing that something you've already built and then getting stuck and needing that help, and you also don't know
Which
what else
they kind of almost did, sort of. So they are kind of working together, and Aubrey is like, "Okay, get these castagnettes, get this, gets this," and so they seemingly get all the same items, and they go and they adorn their dancer. And David and Aubrey are correct. Claire and Derek are incorrect, because seemingly Claire didn't notice the size of the castagnettes and got a different size than Aubrey. But Derek was like, just go, just go, just go, which I think, it's good that they kind of just went. But they figured out pretty quickly that it was the castagnettes that was the issue. But
But
man, that
if
would
you're in the
suck.
store, like, wouldn't you be like, "Are these the same ones? Wait, are these the same
Yeah,
ones?"
I
Like,
would 100% be looking at the 2 black castagnettes beside each other and be like, let's just make sure that they're exactly the same.
for
Like,
all of it, yeah, because there was so many things there that were I was actually impressed with how many people picked the right thing right off the bat, because looking at it from afar, I was like, "All these things look the same," but
yeah, they
yeah.
look pretty similar. Or like the shawls look pretty similar. Yeah. So yeah, I was definitely impressed. But if I'm working with somebody, the best thing is to have the exact same things so that you can at least like if you have both of them have the same things and you have one wrong,
Yeah.
like you guys both can kind of switch it around at least and like you can figure out what's the right way really quickly or anyways it's easier to kind of determine what is right and what's wrong. So the fact that she was kind of willy-nilly about it, I was surprised because I feel like
Yeah.
she would pay more attention to detail.
Yeah. Well, live and you learn,
You
right?
live and you learn. Well, they do end up figuring it out, and they're both those teams are moving on to the next roadblock. But Luis and Michelle get there first. Michelle is going to be doing this roadblock. Who has been paying attention? So, who would have been doing this one between you and I?
Well, I forget. Did they know that it was, or did they have an inclination that it was, like, height
There's
based?
usually a little phrase that might give them a little bit
Yeah.
more information than just what we are told as the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah. So, I 2 ways. Like, I'm terrified of heights, right? Um, like
Okay, if we were ever going on The Amazing Race, I would literally hypnotize you and you
like
would not be afraid of heights
like
anymore.
I'm like Claire crying afterwards because I'm so like it's not pretty. But I also think that could have been to my benefit because I would have been laser focused and just like get it done. I would have been fast. I would have been like, you know, like hyper focused on like what I had seen previously. And because I'm so observant as well, I feel like, but we both are, but I feel like I would be good at what that was. And then I mean, no team picked the wrong flag, right? But
Not
it's
that we
like,
saw.
yeah. So, I mean, it would have, I don't know. Initially, I mean, I would have been terrified, but I think that would have actually benefited me. So I'm not sure what I would have done.
Well, I'm not afraid of heights, so I wouldn't have a problem doing it. Um, would you have? I mean, we're both pretty decent at paying attention to detail, but do you think you would have noticed the flag that the woman was holding when they had to get their? I think it was their roadblock clue.
Yeah, because if I'm making it to the final three, which I would be, I know that they ask questions like that, or you have to match
Absolutely,
things up, and so you need to pay attention to those. You know, every time you're,
everything.
yeah, there's not that many people that you run into that you couldn't remember. You know, and especially that day, I could have been like, okay, I ran into this person. This is what they're. Just a quick glance, you know.
Yeah, like definitely paying attention to everything that you encounter because it could be, it's kind of like Big Brother, right? Like, just pay attention to everything that happens on every single day
Yeah.
because you might be tested on it
And then,
later in the
I
season.
mean, then go on after the leg and you write it down. So just like, focus on who you run into because that's very likely something that you may need later on in like a final three situation at the last leg.
So they're going to be doing a high wire act. And then when they go from one end to the other, they're going to have to choose between 5 flags. Which one is the Andalusian flag? And so Michelle is super excited. She loves heights and she really wanted to do a heights challenge. And so without fully knowing what they're going to have to do, she does choose to go. And she's so cute. Like she really is a cute little ball of energy. And she did a great job. She went across the high wire, really excited about it. She grabbed the correct flag and they continued to pull ahead of the group.
I don't know when it was, but in this episode, they mentioned how like nice that they are as people. And I was like, what is that like? But it's just, I'm like, you are. I'm like, you really are. And I'm like, oh, how can I be more like you? Like to, find the fun in just everything that you do. I also think with that challenge was a missed opportunity because I think you could have had a lot of fake flags up there. And some of these people are terrified of heights and forcing them to go like a second or third time and being able to watch that missed opportunity. I want full mental breakdown, which we kind of almost had, but like a full, like I can't do this and actually can't do this. Yeah. I would have
I
made
mean,
them all
5
look the
flags was a
same.
little bit easy. I mean, I guess like the red herring was have the Spanish flag there, so people being like,
Right. But I would have like made up flags and have them like look almost similar and like you have to like
that's
really
so
know.
rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're off the team, this game design team now, because you were too hard and too cruel.
I would have loved to have seen. I mean, as an audience member, you kind of want to see people, get upset over it. They got what they wanted, but I could have done with a team or two doing it. Yeah, the problem is we like all these teams now, so it's
Victoria has a point. So do you want it to be that difficult even if you were doing the challenge?
yeah, because you know why I wouldn't get it wrong, Victoria. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
even though you're shaking in your boots?
Wouldn't get it wrong, so don't have to do it once.
So after Michelle gets the flag and brings it over, because they don't get to know whether or not they got it correct until they go and
Yeah.
open their next clue with their partner. And so she does learn that she did get it correct. And they have a little dance break. Like they're cute people. Cute little fun people. So they're gonna be going to the Orson Welles and Ernest Hemingway corner, I think. Honor. It's at the entrance of the city garden.
Which is
So
like right close to where they are ish, right?
yeah,
Like
I think it
outside.
was a walking distance or
Mhm.
running distance or limping distance. We do also learn that the brothers are doing bend over backwards and the twins are doing pay attention to detail. The other one, dressed for success. I was like, "Oh boy, the brothers are going out this leg because this definitely seemed like the more challenging task and more time consuming." And as soon as they were in the back and then they chose that one, I was like, "They done."
I wasn't sure because they kept showing their edit, and it was like they were just it just seemed like not a lot of time had passed, and I was like, oh, they're really trying to find moments to cut between the two teams, and they don't have much footage because they finished it fast. So that's why they're showing like now we're here, now we're here. Like they just kept cutting to like a few seconds after. And they weren't doing that with the girls because they were doing it like, okay, now they're in the shop. Wait, now they're back, over here doing stuff. So it just seemed I was worried. I was worried, but I'm picking the Twins over the guys.
Any
We
day.
knew that going in, so I was hoping that. Unfortunately, I was hoping that they would stumble or overlook something.
Well, yeah, they're right. The Twins were giving us a little heart palpitations for the fact that they passed the detour and then they're getting direction and they realize they went past it, but they were already on the street and they didn't see it before. And like, I'm like, this poor woman is walking or limping because her leg hurt. And I'm just like, don't like be going further distance when your leg is hurting.
Is
Like,
it
I was
is
like,
it
getting
Emily or
nervous.
Molly whose legs messed up?
Emily.
Emily. So I know Molly's like carrying her luggage or pack or whatever as well, but I'm like, you can like run ahead a little bit. Like you can they just doesn't it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of urgency in this leg, and I hope that changes next leg. Even when they're doing stuff, it just seems like
It's going to
yeah.
have to change
So
this leg.
or they're gonna be out. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that they're too close to the final three for her not to be like, okay, like my leg hurts, but like powering through it, it could be $1 million. Like,
Yeah.
let's just go get some surgery and fix this leg up later. You know, like just push it to the max. I mean, also some other people were saying, I was watching a recap being like, she should take herself out of the gate out of the race because like if she's gonna have damage for
No.
like
No.
later on in life, I was like, I think with $1 million, I would be okay that like I hurt my leg that badly. I'd
Well,
be
and
okay
then
with
it
it, I
also,
think.
I mean, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Is it like simply something that she pulled? Is it bone on bone? I mean, that would never build up. Like often, if you have back or knee problems or something, it's due to something that is pre-existing that's already there, and it's never going to get better. You just irritate it. So, the more damage thing. I mean, it really just depends on what it is,
Mhm.
and there's a good chance that it could be inflammation, which would go away, and it's fine. And
I mean,
power
we've seen
through.
people, I mean, it sucks and it probably is fucking oh painful, but people tearing their ACL and just like continuing with the season, then having to go get surgery after and be like, oh,
Yeah, it's good
it
stuff.
was pretty dangerous.
I
But
mean, and they know like how this is like a once in a lifetime kind of a situation.
I wouldn't be
So,
taken out for this.
you're also not, yes, you're walking and scurrying around, but you're not,
It's not
putting
like the
like
challenge or
right,
Survivor.
exactly,
Like,
exactly.
look what they let like Christmas do with her little scooter for the whole season. Like
Yeah,
some shows, they would have taken her out because of that injury. So I think that if she wants to stay in the game, I think that she should be allowed to.
yeah.
I Medivac sometimes like really piss me off. I'm
And if
just
this
like,
was like leg one, and this was happening, then I'd be like, but it's they're so close to the end.
they're so close to having the most epic story. Like even if especially if she has this knee injury, that if they win, like it's such a good story. The story was already amazing, and now that's even better. So the twins, yeah, they're not really having a great time with getting to this detour, but they do eventually find it, thank goodness. And they're actually weren't doing the greatest job of figuring out what they needed to bring because they're like, oh, I guess we have to do this first, and they're kind of like you
Yeah.
said, no urgency or no not being really precise. Do you think that they thought they were out of it?
I don't. I just think that I don't know. Like it happened in the last or the first half of this mega leg too, where there was that lack of like detail. I don't know. I think they're just letting things get to them and the pressure, and I'm not quite sure, but I'm just like, okay, you have a new
Focus.
problem. The other one needs to like triple make up for that. You know what I mean? So, and I just didn't see that happening either. So, but now are they equal? Hold on, who did what challenge? Yeah, they're
No, I think
equal.
it was 5-3 before, I believe. So I think that
Can it be 5-5 now? What did they?
I think it's 5 and yeah, we'll be 5. They will be even now, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. Okay, so that's good. That's good,
Yes. Well,
right?
Luis and Michelle, though, they get to the pit stop, the mat in place number 1, winning a 5-night stay in Tokyo, which would be really cool.
Really a flawless leg by them, I think. Like I can't fault them for anything. Like it was, yeah, good job.
Maybe they should have gotten the pay attention to detail challenge on their first go, but they also didn't have the pressure of having any other teams around them, so they were
Yeah,
probably a little bit more lax.
and no one like well, did David and Aubrey? Yeah,
David
David and
already
Aubrey
didn't.
did, but yeah, it was like it was it's a harder challenge, and I don't think it ate up that much time, but really they were yeah. And I honestly I saw them today. I was like, are you the winners? Like it just I looked at them. I was like, I can see it easy, but like yeah,
I could see all the teams that are well. I can't really see David and Aubrey right now, but all the other 3 teams I can see winning,
yeah, yeah.
and I feel like they painted the story for all 3 of those teams to win.
For sure.
So, Big Brother and David and Aubrey, they do find each other afterwards, and it's going to be Claire doing this challenge and Aubrey doing the detour, and they both don't like heights. And I have to say, I laughed so hard when like Aubrey was like going across, and Claire is just like trembling, and she's very tall and like she's not that graceful, and she's just like awkwardly trying to just get across and focus and get across this beam, and Aubrey's like, Claire, how you doing? And she's just like, don't talk to me. And she's like, what? Don't talk to me. It's like, I know that feeling where you just want to focus and you just want someone to shut the F up.
I mean, that's how I live most of my life. But it's yeah, I was like I said, I'm terrified of heights, so I definitely like felt for them as well. Of course, I could put myself there. Was giving me a little bit of that, when you're on a swing and you go up high, like that kind of like inner kind of anxiety. It was giving
It's not
me
anxiety to me, it's excitement.
it was giving me that from on the couch. So I was like, oh no. Yeah.
I guess we're not going to do the edge walk on CN Tower anytime soon.
I said I would do it, but I mean, I don't know under what circumstances, but I said
Charity.
I said I would do it. So maybe one day.
Well, we cut back to the boys over at the other roadblock. They get a failed first check, and it seemed pretty obvious what they got wrong. It seems like it was 2 of the little inner slabs that they have to put in between each brick. They missed one. And so it seems like they have to take the whole thing apart. I was like, God, this challenge sucks. And they didn't seem to have that much urgency.
Yeah. And I just don't know. And was it one or was it one on both sides? Because I thought, or maybe the camera angle changed, but I thought it was like, and I think when they talked about it, they were like, oh, we didn't realize that we had to do that or something like that. But I was definitely no urgency there too. And I mean, maybe they're just like trying to figure out what they did wrong because they just didn't understand what was up. And so, again, which is what got them in trouble in the first place with that previous challenge in the first half of the Mega Lake. But yeah, it's like I said, I wouldn't have picked it. I was waiting for it to like come tumbling down, so it didn't.
Well, they didn't. They were going to take it out if it wasn't going to stay. So I guess they had that. At least they got to be like a no instead of the whole thing being tumbling apart.
Yeah, can you imagine?
That'd be crushing.
Like that's the test is they just remove it and then like it either stays or it doesn't.
Then that would be way too unbalanced. So the
hard,
challenge
yeah.
It's way harder. Poor Claire and Aubrey, though, they finally get across the high wire and neither of them know what the flag is. They don't know. But they end up both picking correctly. I mean, the fact that there was only one right in the middle that's like the green and white flag, and the other ones look like the Spanish flag, or this, it just stood out to me.
Also,
So
like subconsciously, like I'm sure, like on some level
you're
that
like,
you
oh, I
saw
think I
that
saw
today.
that
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so they're both hoping and praying that it's going to be correct. But when they get back to their partner, Claire fully breaks down and cries. So like she really is scared, because that's a lot of energy and anxiety that's kind of just been released. And Claire and Derek didn't seem to really know how to comfort her. He's like, "You okay? You good?" And she's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. She does apologize. She's like, I'm sorry for all the drama to the people that are working
Yeah,
at the.
Claire's very sweet with everyone. Absolutely. Yeah, I noted that.
She's like, thank you so much. I'm sorry for all the drama. And then she's bawling. Cut to the twins. They finally get it. The brothers finally get it. We see David and Aubrey getting second place, Claire and Derek getting third place to the pit stop. They didn't seem to have any trouble getting to the pit stop, but they didn't show it anyways if they did. And so Emily is doing this particular roadblock, and I'm like, the girl with the knee is doing this roadblock. I'm
No,
like,
I was so worried. I was like, ugh, keep that, lead. I'm like, what's going on? But I think that they just thought that because they have somewhat of a lead, if they're able to do
they
this.
don't know if they have a lead though at this point, because they separated from doing the different roadblocks.
No, for sure. But if like there's a possibility that, and I thought that they said, maybe this was earlier, but I thought that they said there was somewhere definitely in the episode where one of them said we have the other two behind us. So, even I think they assumed it. And if you think about it, like the next time, when who knows when you'll need it, the good need twin can absolutely do it instead. So otherwise, if you didn't, then it would be like a 6-4, right? So, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of like pigeonholed into like what you're doing next time. So I thought it was a good idea, knowing that or thinking that, because they
There's
did
a
express
team
it
behind
verbally,
them,
that
and
there's a
that they
team behind you. Yeah,
want the option of maybe Molly doing it in case it's too strenuous for Emily.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
hear you. I hear you. So Emily's doing the roadblock. Michael is doing the roadblock. And they weren't even trying to make it seem like they were close, which I also thought was strange, because like they
Which
usually do.
yeah, I was like, how far behind are they? Because they weren't trying. There was no, cut, finishing at the, no.
It was just like the twins just get to the pit stop in fourth place, and like then Michael and Marcus show up.
Because I also think the pit stop was too close to that last
Mm.
challenge, that they weren't able to fake us out. Not that they really do, but they tried to. So yeah.
So Michael and Marcus are the brothers that come in last place at the end of the second mega leg. And I was actually I felt bad, because Marcus was like, I took $500,000 away from my brother. I was like, yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You messed up a couple challenges.
well, that's the thing though, right? It's like at the very least, it wasn't like, no one messed up. All teams, it's based off of your performance in those challenges, and they were the weakest, and you did go home. So what's worse is like if everyone's doing it and someone just like squeezes out 5 minutes ahead of someone else, that's like, in my opinion, even worse. But this is like, okay, I didn't do great. So yeah, they deserved, unfortunately, but based off their performance, to not make it further.
Yes, they definitely weren't able to pick back up the momentum that they had prior to. What was their detrimental leg? What happened?
There's the glass panes.
Well, no, it was before that though. It's when
But
they
even before that, yeah. But
when
they,
they
they
made that chose to not go on the 820, or I can't remember which highway it was, where they veered left when Marcus was like he wasn't sure, and Michael was like, "What? Which way should we go? We should go. I don't. We should go. Let's just go left." And that was the moment where I think they gave away the race.
I mean, I feel like they could have made it up in the glass panes with the
Right.
picture if they didn't, like, if they noticed that the last one was, yeah. So it's a combination of several things, but yeah, it wasn't
But
I do.
starting in last place for them, I don't think that they can shake that mindset. Like I think that they are better out in front and they're not better at being like chasing the lead. I think that they thrive more so in environments where they're in front.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're losing Michael and Marcus. We're down to our final 4 teams. I believe there's 2 episodes left. So what is your order? I think I could probably figure it out, but who do you want to win in order?
Um, yeah, so obviously, yeah, Emily and Molly. Um, then I would go with, I guess I'd try to work it out backwards. So, um, David and Aubrey are last for me, and then Derek and Claire are probably third.
I think I'm going to put them that way as well. Lewis
And the
and
okay, sorry,
Michelle have really,
second, yeah,
really made me invested in them doing well just because they're so kind to each other and they're enjoying the race so much and they're just such positive people. Like they would just be such a great, not that any of the other teams aren't that, but
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
just enjoy their energy and their vibe. And so I would agree with your order. Obviously Molly and Emily, their story is fantastic, and I want that for them, um, as well as for myself, obviously. And then Louis and Michelle, like I said, like they're just would be great winners, and like that they would cry and they'd just be so happy and proud of themselves and proud of each other for working together so well, because sometimes we can see relationships really fall apart in
yeah,
races like this. So
yeah.
I think it's really strengthened them personally. Derek and Claire, as much as like I love them and I want to see them do well, and if they win, I'll be very happy. They're not, for me, they're not bringing as much as, or they're not being shown as much as the first 2 teams. So they're third.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, David and Aubrey, they're here, but they haven't really made that much of an impact on me in their personality or their storyline.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm not upset with really any of the teams winning. I mean, obviously, I really want, what that order that I just gave, but and even if David and Aubrey won, I'm like, then there you go. You deserved it. You did what you needed to do. You pulled yourself out of the back. Like we thought, or I thought at least, you were going to be early to mid boot, and you weren't. So good for you.
mm-hmm. Kathy is saying that
They
Louis and Michelle is such a
are.
fun team. They are. I want to hang out with them the most. I'm like,
Now
I
it
want to
got
be
me
friends with
thinking.
them.
It got me thinking that because there was an injury with Molly and Emily, different formats, and I remember that the family season. Remember the family of 4, like when everyone was teams.
Stassi was on one of the families. Stassi from Vanderpump Rules. Anyways,
Is there a different format that you could be down with in like a future season, that like whether it's Amazing Race individuals or
I'm like
Amazing Race
Amazing
like
Race
group
podcasters fight race recappers against previous racers that they our first booters and
but
recappers.
rather than like teams, is there
I
any
know, I'm just kidding.
like reshuffling that you think could work?
Well, those teams of 4 didn't work. I did like. Oh no, it's kind of a team thing.
I know people didn't like it. I didn't hate it personally, but I know
I don't
people didn't.
remember it right now. I don't remember if I liked it or hated it. I mean, this is kind of like a racer thing, but I did like the date one where they didn't know their partner, like the blind date, and like I would love to run the race with somebody random. Like I think that could be awesome and could be quite dramatic.
Yeah. Is
Um,
it too much if they did something like that and then like you got maybe it's an advantage, or like halfway through or something, you just like have the option of switching partners if you like win the leg or lose. I don't know, whatever. I don't know. I was like, I wonder if they're ever going to play around with different formats again, is what got me thinking.
yeah, I mean, I can't really think of another format other than like family or like teams against each other.
Hmm.
They did set one season, could have been the reality racing season, where you had to do like a task with somebody else's partner. I think that's interesting.
Right. That's what I was like, you know, I wonder if there's like a world where it's not too much and it's not too far away from the original. I mean, I wouldn't I like what it is. I like what we see, but I'm not, it's not broken, don't fix it. But maybe try a little something I could see going forward. I don't know.
Or like start as like kind of like Survivor style, where it's like you have two teams racing, and then like somebody from each team falls out, but you kind of all have to work together, and then like you shuffle it up, and you're in like 4 teams of 4, whatever. Maybe like what would that work? You think?
Yeah, I guess I'm too heavily influenced by the challenge, which does like 9 million different formats and mixes, and they try something new every season. So that's probably getting in my head too much. But yeah, I don't know. Something to think about.
So Kathy is saying that she loves Emily and Molly's story. She's adopted as well, so she gets them. But she does not. But do you know that you don't have a twin? Maybe you don't
Someone could be
know.
lying to you. Someone could be lying to
Have
you.
you seen those birth records? LOL. I'm just 7 siblings between my 2 bio parents. Wow. So you had lots of siblings. Okay.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I have a couple friends who are adopted as well. So it's definitely, I think, a story that a lot of people can relate to that are watching. And if you not yourself, just someone know someone or have experienced it on some level. So, and even if you haven't been it's just that sisterly bond, or just growing up in different households with like maybe split parents and stuff. So yeah, it speaks on so many different levels. That's why they have to win.
You may have watched, what was the show with Lindsay Lohan? Freaky Friday, was it? Is that where when she's a twin? No, there's a twin one.
Oh yeah, no, Freaky Friday's with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Sorry, yeah, no, sorry, the twin
one is,
thing.
Yeah. What is that called? Where she's like a British self, and the Parent Trap.
Oh, Parent Trap! Yay! Actually, I remember the original Parent Trap. My mom made me watch. She's like, "You had to see the original Parent Trap with." I forgot the name of the person now, but she used to like force me to watch it. I was like, "Okay, I've seen it. It is better." But like, yes, that could be your reference to twindom and twins and how this is a really cool story.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it for the episode. Oh, Kathy got it too. The Parent Trap. Thank you.
It was in my head.
Yes,
so thank you.
Sent it telepathically.
Yes, Kathy sent it to me. Exactly. Kathy, maybe we're twins.
Never know. Well, Jonathan, thanks again for being here. I'm happy to know that the twins are going to win now because of your presence, and your energy is focused on their success. So that is really great to know. I know you have a game going on, so let's hear a little bit about what you are casting for right now on the org level.
Yeah, so we're still, I think there's, just a few short days, like maybe 5 days left in applications. But as I mentioned last time, we are casting for Duplicity, and I'm in the comments. Everyone tells me I look younger than I am. But we look great for our age, Kathy. We look great. But yeah, Duplicity is an online reality game, and I'm casting. It's based on The Mole, and we're going to be filming and doing live challenges in January 13th to February 3rd. If you want to apply, we can get you those links. If not, they'll be made into some sort of episode, so you can join the Facebook group. It's called Duplicity, and you can be a viewer if you don't want to apply.
And I have faith in Jonathan and Victoria, who is in this chat right now, most likely, for creating a really fun game. I wish that I could play. I just won't be able to commit to those 3 weeks, but like I am jealous. So if you've ever wanted to play a live reality or like online reality game, or interested in The Mole, or like puzzles and challenges and try spy games,
cash prize,
money. If you like any of those things, I think that you should apply, because I really think it's going to be a good time. I definitely think it's going to be one of the top games of 2023 even. So please be a part of it. Be prepared for some savage challenge.
You heard me suggest things today, so you know where my mind goes when we're planning these challenges. I'm gonna hope
I'm
you throw it.
excited. So if I ask you to go and play this, don't be like, "Are you playing too?" I'm not playing, but I'm jealous and I'm giving you the opportunity to play this game. So please, 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 please fill out the application. I will post a link inside the description box so that you can, put in your application. Yay! Well, thank you, Jonathan, again. And everybody here in the chat, you guys are awesome. Please leave in the comments as to what your order is. Is the same order as us? Do you have a completely different order? Do you think the brothers got robbed? And do you think that there's a way to maybe shift around the format of the Amazing Race and still keep the integrity of the race that we enjoy? So I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and like this video. It really helps that YouTube algorithm thing. It's just good for all of us. Any final thoughts, Jonathan?
Emily, Molly, I know you've won this already, and we're just gonna sit back and watch it happen. So that's my final thought. Yeah, let's put it out there.
To God's ears.
Yes.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye.